Hello, and welcome to another edition of Extra Connections here on JLJ Media. I'm the JLJ of JLJ Media, James Lott Jr., and I'm so happy to connect with people who are doing things. But this person is in the business like I am, with the business of entertainment, the business of show, right?
Yes.
It's a tough business, folks. But she's somebody you've probably seen on many different things. We're going to talk about the different things she's been on, what's coming up in 2022, and see how she's doing. It's crazy times these days. Help me welcome my new friend, Colleen Foy. Hi, Colleen.
Hi. So great to meet you, James, and I so appreciate you having me on.
It's my pleasure. I'm gonna dig right into the first question I want to ask.
Oh.
I'm very curious. Okay, this business is not for the faint of heart. We
No,
both know
it is
that.
not.
It is. It can be cruel sometimes. It could be confusing sometimes. But it also be wonderful and beautiful and rewarding. It's all those things at once. So I want to ask you just right off the bat, why acting? For you,
Oh.
why acting?
I love rejection and torture.
That's
Kidding.
my
Kidding.
figure. Good night. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you. That's it. Yes.
I love storytelling. I love watching storytelling. I love it sort of for entertainment value, and I also love learning about the human experience via storytelling. And I love to be a storyteller. I love to collaborate with other people who want to tell great stories, so that so that when it comes down to it, so that humans can understand each other better, there's more compassion, the world is a better place. And also, I think storytelling is the most ancient method of communicating and carrying on culture. So I'm so proud to be part of something that is so really so ancient. Yeah.
I like the way you described that. That's the first time I've interviewed 14 years ago. You're the first one to actually put it that way, which it's very true, because if they on a page, they're on the stage, right? It's all about the story. Everything
Yes.
is born out of the story, the characters,
Yeah.
the setup, the situations, and you're the conduit, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm so happy to be a part of it. Now, the business part is brutal. Like you said, it's brutal. And often I think getting jobs in this business has very little to do with art. Some of it has to do with, it's commerce, whenever parts there are times when I've auditioned for a role and I feel so connected and I love it and I loved what I did in the audition, and then I see, oh, that actress got it. Oh, like she wrapped 7 seasons of her show, and she's now playing that part, and it makes me think, well, yes, of course she's got a built-in audience.
Right.
For 7 years she's built an audience worldwide. Of course it's going to make sense for them business wise to have her in that role. My heart breaks a little, because when we are working on these characters, even in an audition, even if you only have the material for 24 hours, it's incredible how much you can fall in love with a character.
Yeah.
Because you're giving it your all. And you're stepping in their shoes, and you're seeing the world through their eyes. So it's heartbreaking, but I understand the business aspect of it. But to go through that for so many years continually can be daunting. Can be really daunting.
Another actor I talked to she said, whenever I go into an audition, it's still performing. It's still performing. It's still a performance. Whether it's a self-tape or in the room, you're still giving a performance, which is still the craft of acting.
Yes, 1,000,000%. Yeah, my when I was in university studying theater, my acting 5 teacher, Maureen Kilmurray, she made us cheer, audition, audition. She
Audition!
yes. She made us, she wanted us to fall in love with auditioning, because many times that's as far as we will go with that character. There can only be one person that books the job, right? So we had to fall in love with the process of it because the result can be heartbreaking when we don't get it. So I feel like, great, I get 3 minutes to play this character. I'm going to savor all 3 minutes. Yeah. So
And
yeah,
that's
gotta
I
follow.
like that. That's I think it's a great approach to it. But this is a good follow-up question I was gonna ask you anyway at some point, but do you have to like the characters you play? 'Cause you play a wide range. You have to like them.
Mhm. Yes. Ooh, that's a great point. Oh, that's a great question.
You're like,
Um,
no, I hate
uh,
all of them. Okay, right, no,
I hate them. I think that when there's a character that's like unlikable or does things that we could easily judge, I think about times when I, as a person, have done things that were not my highest self. You know,
yes, yes.
I've absolutely been at points in my life where ooh, I was a couple months away from some deep therapy,
Yes, I understand that, girl. I do understand.
right?
Yeah.
So I've done things that in hindsight may not have been likable. But in the moment, the tools that I had got me to behave in that way or interact with people in that way. That was the only means that I had of treating people at that time because I was down in that moment, or I felt like things were against me. I had just had too many rejections, and I hadn't sort of uh, allowed myself to feel it. So instead, that rejection was being redirected to people. So I always think about when there's a character, I'm like, oh, that's an ugly thing to do. I look back at my life and think, or other people, and think, we're not always operating in our highest self, right? We're not, I keep thinking about Oprah in this moment. I keep thinking we're not all like the divine beings.
Right, we're not sunshine and rainbows and unicorns all moments. I have
No.
bitchy moments. I have sour moments.
Thank
I'm
you for
salty
saying
sometimes.
that. Yes,
Right, right, right,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah. So I try and find just the humanity, what has gone on in their life up to this point that is making them act this way.
That makes sense. So you're more about finding out what makes the character tick and that motivation in those moments.
Yes.
Alexa, I'm talking. Turn off. I said some name. I guess Alexa came on. Uh,
Alexa's like, I have something to say to add to
yeah,
that.
I was like,
I'm
okay.
salty too.
I know. I'm like, quiet girl. I'm busy. That was just weird all of a sudden. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a live audience over there. My little Alexa thing. But no, but what makes sense to me that you're like, I gotta find what the motivation is for this character for this
Yeah.
scene. It's more about just kind of getting in under the skin, and at the moment, just kind of figure out what that is, so you can move
Right.
the scene. But
Absolutely.
I know some folks are like, oh man, if I like him or not, oh, that's great. But I just think it's interesting because like you said earlier, you're inhabiting a character, a person.
Yes.
You're immersing yourself in a situation when you do acting. If you're doing
Right.
it well, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. And
absolutely.
TV and film, I think the best stories are reflective of the actual human experience. If we were to watch I can't think of a TV show where everyone's making good decisions
No,
all the time.
no, there isn't.
It'd be so
Comedy, no,
boring.
you'll be boring.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So the more it's reflective of actual human experience, the more conflict there is in a character, and I think the more actually that kind of character needs to be shown, so we can look at it and say, "Oh, I see now that this behavior is due to years of not accepting themselves." Holy cow! And then we learn more about ourselves. We treat each other with more compassion, and that
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
So then, what happens when you get into the orbit of like someone like Shondaland Entertainment
Ooh.
Productions, Station 19, of course. How's that feel when you go through the audition, of course, and you got this storyline or you got a role on it, arc. How does that hit? Is it like, ooh, I'm in a major limelight, kind of, this is my chance? I mean, how's that hit for you?
Ooh, well, Shonda hits different, you know?
I'm sure. I was like, yes, I'm sure.
She had been my one target for years.
Oh,
I really respond to her as a human. I respond to her as a storyteller, and I love the work that she does. So I, for years, have been uh, focusing on Shonda Rhimes.
we're talking
I
Grey's Anatomy, folks. We're talking Scandal. We're talking How to Get Away with Murder. We're talking all these. I mean, her diverse shows.
All of it. Yes, I would so I would watch her shows all the time. I wanted to know what she was doing so that when I got the opportunity, I could seamlessly weave myself in an audition. And also I listened to her audiobook or her book that is an audio version, Year of Yes. I listened to that would go for walks and just listen to how she speaks. I would listen to her stories. I wanted to know what makes her tick because that's what makes her shows tick. And also, she has a really unique cadence in how she speaks and how she writes. And you can see it and hear it on screen. There's a famous line from Meredith to Derek on Grey's Anatomy: pick me, choose me, love me. It's a little bit staccato, and she's hitting some what we as actors call operative words. Pick me, choose me. There's a pattern in there as well. That's how Shonda actually speaks and writes. And so I was just immersing myself in her because she was who I wanted to collaborate with. She was absolutely on my vision board for years.
Wow.
Oh gosh,
Can
absolutely.
come true. Dreams can come true. That's
Oh,
great.
dreams can come true. And I auditioned for that office 15 times before I booked Station 19.
Which happens, folks. I'll tell you, folks, that does happen. It's like go back to those auditions. You may not get picked for this one thing, but they remember once you're in the room, right? Once you're in the
Yes.
room,
Yes. So I booked it, and it was written as a one-episode guest star. And I thought, ooh, you got me into Shondaland. I'm not leaving. So I brought a tent, I pitched it, I'm staying here for a little bit. So I planted some seeds of chemistry with one of the firefighters. So my role is initially a woman who was experiencing domestic violence, and the firefighters show up to investigate a gas leak, and they convinced me to leave my husband with my small child, and I planted seeds of chemistry with the firefighter who was helping me, and they brought me back as his love interest.
see,
Boom, boom,
it
boom.
worked.
Yes. But also I feel like it's not just the chemistry we had. I think I understood really well what they do on that show, what they're trying to do, the stories they're trying to tell. It's not just about me going, yes, I am going to leave my husband. It's about thank you for letting me know that I have more life to live. Thank you so much. Life is worth living. And I think they understood that because they saw that because I understood so deeply, I think, what their mission is. So yeah, gosh, I love Shonda Rhimes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. So I know I love that. I mean, I've had a few of those moments in my life, so I know that dreams can come true. But
Oh,
you manifested, you just kept going, and you did the research, which I think is that's a business thing to do. You just
yes.
always say what company you want to work for, learn about the company,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Well, we would do that in any other sort of like
Yeah.
business venture. And I think sometimes actors are like, I'll just focus on emoting and like opening that wound from my childhood. And less about like this is a business. Who do I want to work with? Let me understand what they do. So
what they do,
yeah,
what they need, kind of what the atmosphere is, the culture for them.
absolutely.
And yeah,
Yes.
like you say, because basically you have it correct. You're trying to figure out how they could need you, so to speak.
Hmm.
It's like, well, they have a million people out there trying for this part. Well, let me show them that I'm actually could be plugged right in.
Oh yes, you are singing my song,
Yeah,
James. I completely agree with
yeah.
that. Yes,
That's what it is.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because in this business, another thing in this business is do you show up on time? Do you know your lines? Are you pleasant to work with? I know
Yeah.
that people get a lot of jobs because those three things. It's not always sometimes it's not about talent sometimes. Like sometimes the talent's like, oh, okay, but you do show up and you are there, you learn the lines, you don't disrupt anything.
Yes.
And you fit right in. I think that's especially when you do guest work. You've done a lot of shows where you do guest work, you're coming into their world.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think about that often. What they're really looking to do in an audition is pick you up from the audition on Wednesday and put you into a scene with Kerry Washington on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But also Kerry Washington is busy, honey. So we cannot be going late. You must know your lines. You must act appropriately. So you have to sort of, I think, bring that to the audition. And if not that particular audition, you have to work up sometimes 14 prior auditions to show them I am reliable. I know what you need. Plug me in. Put me in a scene with Carrie, with Viola, with you know, Jaina on Station 19. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Oh, that's great. So now, are you still on Station 19, or is the arc over? What's going on?
Well, Inara, my character, has
Yes.
moved to California,
Okay.
but there's a strong hope from myself and some producers that she'll eventually come back. Yes.
Oh, like Colleen just said, she's not leaving Shondaland. She's not leaving Shondaland.
I'm still there. I still got the key.
Okay.
Yes, I made a copy. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's right, girl. You are doing that. But you've done a bunch of shows like 911, Lonestar, Franklin and Bachelor, my favorites. I've done like a lot. You've done a lot of different shows. So what do you feel like? We talked a little bit about this, but for you, what is the key for you to getting ready to just step into a new role each time? I know actors are usually nomadic. They're used to playing different roles. How do you get into this? Like every time, okay, now I'm playing a prostitute today. Now I'm playing a nurse tomorrow. Now I'm playing a gypsy. Or like, you know, I mean, for you, you know, how do you get in that process? How do you get there?
Oh, that's such a good question. I wish I was playing a nurse, prostitute, and gypsy.
I thought those were. I don't know why I thought those were songs.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, I think it's so diverse. I think it's so diverse. I think it's something that was diverse in each song. I played a prostitute once or something. It was crazy. Though.
Oh, amazing! I want to see that.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes for me, there's like a hook into the character with either with a line that's in the script, because it can really be like, let's say I'm taping 2 auditions in a day, and one is for a mom, a mom, and she's a little bit troubled, and the other is for a badass FBI agent. And you're doing that within the span of 3 hours, putting them on tape. So for me, typically, well, first there's a change of wardrobe that really helps, sort of working externally but also usually there's like a hook in the dialogue that can sort of like land me in there. And I think we use these like hooks all the time in life. Like when I need to sort of, Colleen, galvanize my troops, which is me, sort of get my energy going. I'm like, you got this, Leanie, let's go. And that kind of that's my hook into getting my shit together in the morning. Right. But sometimes for these characters, there's a little hook. I just finished a film on Sunday, and there's a line, I am his mother, and nothing you can do would ever change that. For me, that was my hook into Sarah. And there's a lot of other incredible lines, but for me, that one like hit me in the gut. Like I can feel it sort of viscerally. So that helps a whole ton. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, just you saying that, that's, to me, that informs that this is the character's being right here. Yeah, that she is his mother.
Yeah,
all the actions coming from that. Every action.
1,000,000%. Yes, absolutely.
I totally get that.
Yeah, James, mind meld here today.
I know. Yes. I know. You're my new bestie. I love it. It's the Midwest connections. I'm from Ohio. I'm Pennsylvania. So it's the Midwest.
Midwest connection. I just want to collect all the Midwestern people.
They're all here. There's a lot of them here. Yes. There's a lot of them here. And whenever I meet them, I go, "Where are you from?" And they're like, "I'm Canada." Oh my God, I'm from Eastern Ohio, and I'm from Pittsburgh, and like it's we all have this like we understand each other.
We do, yes.
I love that. But no, speaking of that, you play the upcoming film in 2022, a psychiatric nurse of Marilyn Monroe's mother.
Yes.
Okay, so then applying what we were just talking about, how'd you get into that character?
Okay, so I What's interesting is I didn't audition for this particular role. I auditioned for another one, auditioned for it, and then got a session with the director to work on that. And that role went to a movie star. And so I, like we were talking about before,
Yes.
and but he gave me a role of Pat, right? Do good work and they'll find a spot for you. So I had not worked on it at all in the audition room or with the
Right.
director.
Yeah.
I was kind of going in a little bit cold, so I felt like I actually had more work to do.
Yes.
And like I was saying earlier, the wardrobe that they had us in, so it's a period piece, of course, and they had us in all sorts of like undergarments from the period, like
Oh.
corsets and
Ooh.
tights. Yes, oh yes, and tights that sort of like hooked in, and the nurse's outfit had a cinched waist, a little hat that I felt could fall off at any moment. So that really put me in this. Once I got that out, I was like, ooh, this is different. This is different.
Oh, got it.
I've got a little bit of a heel on me right now. So there was a feeling of that for me. It changes the way that I stand,
Makes
and
sense.
it sort of puts me um, what's the opposite of being at ease? Sort of like not on guard, but like just sort of like
Right.
like stiff
Right.
spine,
Yeah.
and sort of proper. And there's protocol, and it put me in that mode that I hadn't necessarily found in my work ahead of time. But obviously, my character was dealing with a patient, and then also this patient's daughter is Marilyn Monroe. So
Yeah.
there's this unique sort of like contradiction of duty and also, oh my gosh, Marilyn Monroe is here. So finding that sort of inner conflict was really what I think Pat was sort of all about. Yeah.
The film, you guys, is called Blonde. It'll be on Netflix in 2022.
Mhm.
Starring Anna de Armas, Bobby Cannavaro, we love him, Adrian Brody,
Yes.
Julian Nicholson, all great actors. So
Mhm.
that's very exciting. Produced by Brad Pitt. See, another person is Plan B Entertainment. Another person who obviously some small actor producer. I mean, he got a couple of Oscars, whatever. He was in a few hit movies in his time. Great Ted actress. Yes,
Right.
I mean, I think that's. I mean, this is where I'm going at. I mean, you come from where you come from, right? Where you see acting, you see television shows, you see movies from a fan audience perspective, and then one day you're in Hollywood, and when I say Hollywood, it could be
Mhm.
anywhere, but just you're in the movie making business, TV, and you're working for those people you've seen in the movies and are working with. It must be a trip.
It is a trip. It is such a trip.
Yeah.
Really, these moments like where like pinch me moments,
Yeah.
really truly. And some of these things, like if I had said when I was in Milwaukee growing up, like I want to be in a movie produced by Brad Pitt, it's kind of like, girl, who are you?
Right.
Like how, like really you're gonna dare to dream that big? So I would never say anything like that out loud, but of course we all want that
Mhm.
inside.
Yeah. No.
um
Yeah.
so it so it really is a moment of like, oh my gosh, it came true. Here I am. Oh gosh, it's happening. And I'm always like, oh, you're just like a real sized person. Like you look so fantastic on that red carpet, but
Right.
like,
Right.
look at each other's eyes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you're
Exactly.
so
Right.
beautiful.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
right? So yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I really do admire the work that Brad Pitt does producing
Yeah.
wise.
He does. He does some great stuff.
Moonlight was incredible. Yeah.
Yes. He does some great stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I have a quick Milwaukee story. So I used to work in farm and agriculture. That's how Midwest I am, right? So before I got into all this, before I left for Hollywood, yay auditions. No, before I did that, so one of the things we worked in Milwaukee, of course, and handled all the stuff over there. There was one winter
Oh
at
boy.
General Mitchell Airport.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there. I'm sitting amongst all the cheese products, and we're trying to leave. And there was only because General Mitchell Airport had like 4 terminals or whatever. That's it.
Mhm.
And we were the last flight out. And they said, okay, it was the first time I ever heard this before. It's not the cold. It's not the snow. It's the cold. So we have to de-ice the plane. But the temperature drops a little too below. You got to stay. You can't fly. So it's like you really couldn't see. It was a total blizzard. You couldn't see nothing. And I was on a plane. Back there was Northwest Airlines. They used to fly. NWA used to fly to Wisconsin.
Yes.
They don't in business anymore. But I remember me and my colleagues were like, okay, we had a drink or two at the bar. And so okay, we're gonna get in the plane, and we got in, and Lee goes, okay, it took like an hour to go, okay, you see that hole right there? There's a little hole right there. We're gonna aim for that hole. So we're gonna do our best to make it through that. So everybody just hold on. I'm like, what is going on? Literally, it was the quietest plane ride, takeoff. I just sat there. And I'm looking at the window. I had a window seat. Look at the window, and you always see a snow coming out, but there's a hole. There's just no snow coming out. And he got us through there. He got us through there.
Oh my gosh.
Here's all free drinks.
Oh my God.
It was it was crazy. But that was when I think of Milwaukee and General Mitchell Airport, I always think of that one story.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of the quintessential flying out of Milwaukee story. Yes. I have not heard that. Is that a little hole right there?
A little hole right there. We're gonna hit that little hole. I was like, okay, and he did.
We are? Okay, great. Oh my gosh.
So, but I enjoyed Milwaukee. I enjoyed Wisconsin. I have some friends there. It's a great place.
Cool.
I was in. But, so when did you decide? Okay, I'm gonna ask a two-part question. So I'll ask the second part first. So second part first. When did you decide I can actually make this a job? Did I go to school? But like you decided, okay, now I'm gonna go for this as a career?
Ooh. Well, I love what you're sort of implying, because it was like what's in that question is no one in my family had done this.
Right.
There was no one around me that had done this. It's not like, oh yeah, we
I'll follow so-and-so.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it really had to come all from inside, and it was fighting against what I knew to be true, which is you stay where you grow up. So I think it was after my first year of college. I studied theater in college, and I think I could, with my parents, afford to do that because I got a full ride to
good
university. Okay. Yes, so I think they were like supportive of that. Like, not wasting anyone else's money.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Sure, do it, girl. Have a good time. Okay.
Right. Yes. So studying, and then I went for a 2-week program in Los Angeles, and I was just 19 at this point. A 2-week program out here, and it was 2 weeks full of workshops and meeting with agents on a panel, and headshot photographers and casting directors and working actors, and hearing everything that they had to say and getting a little bit of feedback on what we were doing. And I got good feedback. And that was the feeling of like, oh, because I knew I could act in Milwaukee. I could do, yes, absolutely. But it was the first time that I got a little inkling of, oh, people in the entertainment capital of the world are responding positively to me. Yeah. But my scholarship actually meant quite a lot to me. It was a scholarship based on service. So I was doing a lot of work with a women's shelter and a sexual assault treatment center. I was a peer counselor on the topic of sexual violence and healthy relationships. So a little bit of a dark turn, but it meant a lot to me to have the opportunity to go to school and do that kind of work. And I wanted to finish out my scholarship, my time at university. So when I came back, I had that little taste of LA. So everything I was doing outside my volunteerism and my studies was really focused on learning about the business. Now that's hard because even my professors, who were incredible, have a really strong understanding of what it's like to do incredible theater in Wisconsin.
Got it.
I needed folks outside to educate me. So I interviewed everyone I could get the number for that had been where I was at Marquette University in Milwaukee and had moved to LA. Yes. And I interviewed them. I wanted to know what their budget was, how much they spend on groceries, on gas, on rent. I wanted to know that so that I could have enough money moving out there. I wanted to know how they got their agents. I wanted to know what they did with rejection. I wanted to know how they prepped for auditions and what that was like.
Yeah.
So I just spent a lot of time doing research on the business because I knew that was, for me, that was like, see that little hole? That's what
There you go.
what I know about the business. So I knew I had to do my homework. So yeah.
Are you that kind of student though? Are you like in life? Just are you always that kind of like organized? I gotta get my ducks in a row.
Yes.
Researcher, get my information gathered person. Yeah, me
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. In fact, I don't even order anything online without doing like research. Truly. Truly. I just ordered a 5-inch wooden planter. And I had to do some Googling. You know, I had to do Googling. I wanted to see what else was out there. And I also wanted to see if I could DIY it.
Oh, right. No, that's okay. I know that. Yeah, no, that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Information is like one of my love languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's I can tell. I can tell. No, we get on just fine. I
Yes.
can tell. I know. I like to be fully informed. If I'm going to make a decision about anything, I want to make sure I have all the facts and I have everything in order and go okay. Because I hate later going, oh, that's the other option I had. Oh, I didn't know that. Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yes, me too. There's a saying I love. Someone attributed it to Abraham Lincoln, but I don't know that that's true. And it's measure twice, cut once.
Ooh, I like that.
Rather than measure once, cut it. Oh crap, we didn't get it right. So measure
Right.
twice, cut once. Yeah.
I love that line.
Good one, right? Yeah.
Well, it was just so true. It's like, sometimes they be a little patient. It's almost saying like be a little patient. It's very, I always say it's very safe than pregnant. I was always saying all the time when I was younger. I used to always say I better be safe than pregnant. I used to always say all the time when I was we were in college. We were back in college. Better be safe than pregnant. But like the whole thing of just like making sure you just double check, triple check. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all to get a second opinion. Sometimes,
Right.
depending on what it is, it's like it is. Like I said, or do your research. We always say Google it, then I go, okay, well, I'm gonna check Amazon, I'm gonna check eBay, I'm gonna check this. That's what I do too. Certain things. Okay, well, not just about the money part, but it's just kind of like, well, do they have a better deal in terms of do I get more stuff?
Right.
It's easy. I mean, like, or which product sturdier? Like, they sell one that's sturdier than the other one. Okay, I'll go there. Like it's
1,000,000%. A million percent. Yeah.
Totally
I get it. I totally get it. You sing in my song. Yes, absolutely.
I get it. I get it. As my phone jumps off the table. Like, leave me alone, phone. Go there. First Alexa, now my phone. They're all trying to tell me something.
Right.
Technology. I'm talking to Colleen. Leave me alone. That's great. Okay, so another thing that you did, I think it's kind of cute because I do these in my own network. You did some animation, some voice stuff.
Yes.
As the daughter, Holly O'Hare, I like the name. The daughter of Rapunzel. I love that. How much fun was that doing the voice stuff?
Oh my gosh, so much fun. One of the best parts of it, so it's a school for like the children of like fairy tale characters, good and bad.
Oh, sorry, everybody's called Ever After High.
Ever After High, yes.
Yeah,
so my character was a twin. So there was Holly, the character who was loving being a princess, and then there was your sister who's a little bit of a rebel. So oftentimes they had us record together, which was so much fun. Yes, because sometimes you're doing it alone and you're just doing your lines, saying like, "Do you like my hair?" And there's no one responding, and there's no one there, and nothing's happening. But here I got to like actually interact with the other character who was my twin. It was it was so wonderful. Yeah. And I have a doll. The character is a doll.
That's crazy. Okay.
Holly O'Hare. So I have a Holly O'Hare doll, and she doesn't speak, but I can make her speak. So it's pretty cool to have that. Who doesn't want that?
I mean, this business, it's first of all, you never know where it'll take you. But it's a business. I would say I'm an ordinary person in extraordinary business. It can be sort of things that happen, you just go, really? Like, no other profession would you have a doll of a character of yourself. I mean, like that just would just, there's no other profession that just would.
Right. So bizarre. I love what you said, an ordinary person in an extraordinary.
Yeah, actually, extraordinary situation. It's like in a business. It's like, this business is getting extraordinary. It's just some things
Yes.
that can go down. We get to live out worlds and dreams that people like us just watch. They
Yeah.
watch it, and we get to live it. And you and I talk. It's just like we're connecting on something that where a lot of folks are sitting at home going, "I wish I could do that," or
Yeah.
"One day I can do that," or "I can't do that for some reason." And we get to live it out. But I feel like I'm a regular person who happens to be in this. I know famous people, and unfortunately, I mean all this stuff. But like it's I'm a regular guy.
Totally.
I have the same desires and wants as everybody else. I'm sure you do too. And it's like, but we're doing this business it's so unique. There's
So unique.
every day is different.
1,000,000%.
Yes.
Yeah,
Every day.
absolutely. I try and remember when I'm having sort of rough moments, like my rough day, bad day is someone else's daydream
Yes.
of if only I could be auditioning for things. I don't even care if someone gets it. If that's not me. When I have dark times, I'm like, you know what? I'm a girl from Milwaukee, living in Los Angeles, the entertainment capital of the world. Life is really, really good.
Yeah.
So it helps me to remember that.
I feel that too. And that's what we'll end the show. I think it's a good point to end it. We're gonna end on a high note. But Colleen, you're a joy to talk to you. Like,
Oh my gosh.
a new BFF. I mean, you're just like
Right back at you, James. Right back at you.
So,
Thank you so much.
anytime anything big comes up, or even when Blonde comes out, come back to the show and talk about it. It's like talking
I'd love
about it
to.
and have some
I'd
fun
love
with that.
to.
Tell folks where they can find you in the meantime on the social medias.
Sure. My handle is Colleen Foy, my name. And that's 2 L's and 2 E's in Colleen. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Twitter, and my website is colleenfoy.com.
Perfect. Go ahead and check that out. Of course, you can find me. We're all James Lott Jr. is a soul. That James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. I've been saying that for 8 years, but that's my sayings. And you can follow JLJ Media, my online network, on YouTube. You go ahead and just hit that subscribe button. I know I point the wrong place all the time, but I know it's down here somewhere. It's a red rectangle thing that says subscribe. It is. Be kind, be wise. And also, we're on every audio streaming service, from iHeartRadio to Spotify to Google, Apple. Wherever you find your podcast, you can find Extra Connections. It's right there. We celebrated 3 years doing this thing, and I was nominated for an award this year. So this show is.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Wow.
Again, extraordinary, right? Extraordinary. Like, oh,
there it is. Yep.
There it is. But please follow Colleen, follow what she's doing, and we will see you next time when we're connecting with someone else. Thank you.